Hi and welcome to another story, and today we have part 4 of Cookie by Jacqueline Wilson, continuing from chapter 7. I dived down looking for him. Rona dived too. Everyone dived, even Arabella and Emily. You dive too, Sky, said Rona. You're the best at diving, and it's your fault for yanking Beauty into the water like that. It was just a joke, said Sky sulkily, but she dived too. I dived until my eyes streamed and my heart thumped. I was desperate to find little Nicholas. I'd owned him for 20 minutes, but I already loved him with all my heart. I couldn't find him. Rona couldn't find him. Arabella and Emily and all the others couldn't find him. Sky couldn't find him, though she swam a whole length underwater looking for him. I think we'd better call off the teddy search, girls. You're all getting a bit blue and goose-pimply. Out you all get, said Mrs. Marshall, handing out warm towels. I tried one last dive, holding my breath and keeping my eyes wide open, my hands scrabbling sideways across the pool tiles like pink crabs. There was no sign of Nicholas Navy Bear. Come along, Beauty. You must get out now, said Mrs. Marshall, hauling me out and wrapping a big towel around me. Mr. Marshall was in charge of the hot chocolate to warm us all up. Don't look so upset, sweetheart, he said to me, popping 2 extra marshmallows into my mug. I'm sure we'll be able to find you another little teddy. He was so kind I felt tears pricking my eyes. Oh, Lordy, look at old Ugly. She's blubbing just because she's lost her little teddy weddy, Sky muttered. You can be so mean sometimes, Sky, said Rona. She ran off, towel wrapped around her like a toga. When Rona came back, she had something clutched in her hand, something small and furry, in striped pyjamas. Rona's found him, said Arabella. No, this is my teddy, said Rona. She thrust him into my hand. But he's yours now, Beauty. I can't take Reginald Red Ted, I said. Yes, of course you can. I've just got heaps of new birthday teddies, so you can have Reginald Red Ted. Reginald Red Ted, said Sky, rolling her eyes. What kind of a mad name is that? I think it's a brilliant name, said Rona. Beauty made it up. Oh, well, no wonder it's so weird, said Sky. She blew out her cheeks and stuck out her stomach, pretending to be me. Reginald Red Ted, she said. She was supposed to be imitating me, though I haven't got a lisp. It didn't matter so much that Sky was being horrible, not when Rona was being so extra specially lovely to me. I'll look after him so carefully, Rona, but I won't keep him forever. I'll give him back to you at school on Monday, I suggested. We'll share him, okay? Yes, that's a great idea, said Rona. We'll be co-parents. Cool. We'll have to have a little teddy bear's picnic for him, with very tiny honey sandwiches. Oh, yes, you have such good ideas, Beauty, said Rona. I beamed at her. I'm so glad you've cheered up, Beauty, said Mrs. Marshall. Now you girls must all go and get changed out of your costumes. Your mums and dads will be here to collect you any minute now. I prayed hard inside my head as I struggled back into my frilly blouse and pleated skirt. Please let Mum fetch me. Don't let it be Dad. Wonderfully it was Mum, looking shy and anxious, nibbling her lip, not really joining in any of the conversations with the other mums. Most of them didn't realise she was a mum. I thanked Mr. and Mrs. Marshall for having me, and then I thanked Rona all over again for Reginald Red Ted. He's our Reggie now. He's a very lucky bear to have 2 mothers, said Rona, and she gave me a big hug. This is a bear hug, I said, and we both laughed. Bye, Beauty, said Rona. Bye, Ugly Wuggly, Sky called. She was collected by her Polish au pair. What did that girl call you? Mum asked, as we got in the car. Oh, just silly stuff, I said quickly. Did she call you ugly? Said Mum. How dare she? I've got a good mind to go back and slap her. It's just her stupid nickname for me. Do they call you that? Rona doesn't. So all the others do. Mum sounded as if she was going to burst into tears. I clutched Reginald Red Ted for courage. I tried to smile at Mum reassuringly. It's no big deal, Mum, honestly. We've all got nicknames. One of the girls is called Poo-Poo. It's just their idea of fun. Said Mum. I still think ugly is a horrid nickname. Can't they call you something else? They do sometimes, I said, but I knew Weirdo, Wobbly Bum, Brain Box and the new Corkscrew weren't necessarily any kinder than ugly. I think you'll have to invent a nice nickname for yourself, said Mum. Let me think. She drove slowly, humming along to the music on the car radio. They used to call me Dilly Daydream at school, and your dad used to be called Cookie because of his surname. Your surname. Can't your new nickname be Cookie? I thought about it. I quite like the name Cookie. It sounded funny and bouncy and happy, not really like me. I can't just get them to start calling me Cookie, I said. It doesn't really work like that, Mum. They decide what they're going to call me. Said Mum again. Well, we'll find a way of encouraging them along the Cookie route. She took one hand off the steering wheel and patted my shoulder sympathetically. She very gently tugged a lock of my damp hair. That was a bit of a waste of a 50 quid, she said. Will Dad be mad, do you think? I asked. Maybe, said Mum, sighing. Dad was mad. He usually came home jolly after a day's golf, but we knew as soon as we heard the door slam and the thump as he threw his shoes in the rack that he was furious. He stamped into the living room in his socks and poured himself a large whisky, barely looking at us. Oh dear, said Mum, in her sweetest trying to please voice. Didn't you have a good game, darling? She made a little shooting motion to me, so I started sidling out of the room. I won both games, as a matter of fact, said Dad, glaring at her. My golf swing is pretty lethal at the moment, and I was playing with a bunch of blithering idiots. I just don't get it. I've given them every incentive. It would be so simple for them to fix things for me, but they all witter on about their hands being tied. So frustrating, sucking up to the lot of them all day long and getting nowhere. Absolutely blooming nowhere. I dithered in the doorway. Is this the Water Meadows deal, said Mum. I thought you said it was all sewn up. Some cowardly nincompoop unstitched it all. He says there's no way they'll ever grant planning permission. Oh dear, said Mum. Oh dear. That's a bit of a limp reaction. Is that all you'll say when the guys I owe start clamouring for their money and I haven't got the wherewithal to pay them? Will you just say, oh dear, when the entire business goes down the pan and we're out of this lovely house, sitting in the gutter looking stupid? I crept into the hall, biting my nails. Jerry, don't. You know you'll sort things out. You always do. Come on, put your feet up. Relax a little. Shall I run you a hot bath? You can get me a hot meal. I'm starving. Shove any old muck in the microwave as if I care. I didn't pick you for your culinary skills. I picked you for your looks. I hated the way Dad talked to Mum, as if she was some silly doll. Hot meal coming right up, darling, said Mum. She sounded like a doll too, as if someone had pulled a tab in her back to make her parrot a few silly phrases. I knew she was simply trying to sweet-talk him out of his mood, but it still made me squirm. It seemed to be working, though. You're certainly looking good tonight, babe, Dad said. Like the hair? It's perked up a treat. So, what about Beauty? Let's see her new hairdo. Oh, Beauty's upstairs, Mum said loudly. She got tired out at the party. I scooted up the stairs, 2 at a time, but I was still wearing Mum's high heels. I tripped over, bumping my knees. Beauty? Said Dad, going to the door. Oi, Beauty, I'm talking to you. Come downstairs into the light. Let's have a proper squint at you. I walked down the stairs, holding my breath. Good God, you're a right state, said Dad. You look uglier than ever. I felt the tears pricking my eyes. I pressed my lips together, trying hard not to cry. Jerry, shut up, said Mum. Don't you dare tell me to shut up in my own house, Dad said. What in God's name have they done to the kid? She's all over rat's tails. He took hold of me and tugged my hair in disgust. Stop it. Don't you dare hurt her, said Mum. I'm barely touching her. She did. So, did you actually pay good money, my good money, for this terrible hairdo, Dilly? It was a silly idea to start with. Beauty's just a little girl. She doesn't need fancy hairdos. It didn't really suit her, all those curls. Then it was a swimming party, so of course she got wet. I thought you were just going to paddle, Beauty. What's the matter with you? Whatever made you dunk yourself head first in the pool and ruin your hair? Don't you want to look pretty? Don't pull that silly face. Nibble at your lip like a blessed rabbit. Stand up straight. Don't hunch like that, sticking out your stomach. Don't say another word to our lovely daughter. Beauty, go upstairs, darling, said Mum. I ran upstairs to my bedroom. I put my hands over my ears so I couldn't hear them arguing about me. I saw myself in my Venetian glass mirror. I tried brushing my hair. It stuck limply to my head. I looked at my big face and my fat tummy and my ridiculous clothes. Dad was right. I did look a sight. No wonder Skye and Arabella and Emily and all the other girls called me ugly. It wasn't just a play on words because of my silly name. I really was ugly. 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 It was like staring into one of those distorting mirrors at the fairground. My hair drooped, my face twisted like a gargoyle, and my body blew up like a balloon. My clothes shrank smaller so that my blouse barely buttoned and my skirt showed my knickers. I seized my hairbrush and threw it at my image in the mirror. There was a terrible bang and I saw myself crack in two. I gaped in horror. I'd smashed the mirror, the ornate Venetian glass mirror Dad had bought specially for my bedroom. A long crack zigzagged from the top to the bottom of the glass. I shut my eyes tight, praying that it was all a mistake, an optical illusion because I was so upset. I opened my eyes a fraction, peering through my lashes. Everything was blurry, but I could still see the ugly crack right across the mirror. I kicked the hairbrush across the room. Then I sagged onto the carpet. Down on my knees, I clenched my fists I was still holding Reginald Redhead in my left hand. Why hadn't I held him? He'd have bounced off the glass and somersaulted to the floor, no harm done. I held on to him. He looked back at me quizzically. I am in such trouble, I whispered. Dad always goes totally mad if I break anything, even if it's a total accident. When he sees the mirror, he'll realise I threw the brush on purpose. I rocked backwards and forwards. I could hear the angry buzz of his voice downstairs. He was obviously still ranting about his ugly, freaky daughter. I hate him, I whispered. I can't help being ugly. He's my dad. He's meant to like the way I look. He's meant to be kind and funny and gentle, just like Rona's dad. Oh, I wish I could swap places with Rona. Reginald Redhead tilted his head at me. He seemed to be nodding. It looked like he longed to be back with Rona instead of stuck with me. Chapter 8. Dad went off to golf again early the next morning. The minute he slammed the front door, Mum jumped out of bed and pattered along the landing. Beauty, are you awake, sweetheart? Hey, can I come and have a cuddle with you this time? No, Mum, don't come in, I said. What? Why not? What is it? Said Mum, opening my bedroom door. Are you still sleepy? Do you want to snuggle down by yourself? Yes. No. Oh, Mum, I wailed. Mum came right into my room and switched on the light. I looked desperately at the mirror, wondering if it could have magically mended itself during the night. The crack looked uglier than ever. Mum's head jerked when she saw it, her hand going over her mouth. Oh, Lordy, a broken mirror, 7 years bad luck. However did it happen? Don't be cross, Mum, I begged. Don't be nuts. When am I ever cross with you? Said Mum, coming over to my bed. She put her arms around me and hugged me tight. What did you do? Did you knock against it somehow? Don't worry, I know it was an accident. No, it wasn't, Mum. I did it deliberately, I said, in a very small voice. Deliberately? Mum echoed, astonished. I threw my hairbrush at it. At me, my reflection, I said. Oh dear, said Mum, and she started crying. I'm so sorry, Mum. I'll pay for it out of my pocket money, I said. Please don't cry. I'm crying because your dad was such a pig to you, making you so unhappy. He was talking stupid rubbish, sweetheart. You look lovely. When your hair's natural, it's all soft and shiny. You've got beautiful eyes, rosy cheeks, gorgeous smooth skin. Don't you dare let him put you down, baby. He puts you down? Yes, I know. Well, I'm going to try and stand up to him more. I know he's dead worried about his work, but that doesn't mean he can just be hateful and take it out on us, said Mum. She looked at the mirror, running her finger down the long crack. Could we mend it somehow, I asked. Don't be daft, said Mum. So, what are we going to do? Simple. We'll buy another one and we'll sneak this broken one out to the dump. But they cost hundreds of pounds, Mum. You know they do. I've got £7 left of my pocket money after buying Rona's birthday present. I'll buy the new mirror, silly. But you haven't got any money, Mum. Dad didn't want Mum to go out to work now, not even at Happy Homes. He said her job was to make our home a happy one. He didn't give her an allowance out of his money. She had to ask for everything. Daddy didn't even let her have her own credit card. Mum was nibbling at one of her nails, thinking about it. I'll sell some stuff, she said. Some of my rings, or maybe a necklace. But that's not fair on you, Mum. It was me that broke the mirror. Shall I sell some of my jewellery? I had a gold chain with a tiny real diamond and a silver bangle and some turquoise beads and a small gold signet ring with my initial on. I don't think your jewellery would fetch much, Beauty. I've got masses of stuff. I've sold 1 or 2 bits to that jeweller's near the market before when I've needed to. Oh, Mum, I knew she spent the money on me. Every so often Mum took me to London on Saturdays to go to art galleries. We never told Dad. He hated art. He said all old master paintings were boring religious stuff and all modern art utter rubbish and a con. I'm not sure Mum really liked going round all the galleries either. She often yawned and rubbed her back, and she still tottered around gamely in her high heels. She bought me postcards of all my favourite paintings, and I pasted them into scrapbooks so that I had my own mini gallery to look at whenever I liked. If I get to be an artist when I'm grown up, I'm going to treat you to so many different lovely things, Mum, I said. I think artists are supposed to starve in garrets, said Mum. Maybe we'll both be living on dry biscuits and water. Ah, that reminds me. Do you fancy doing some baking this morning? Baking? I stared at Mum. Yeah, why not, she said. I thought I'd have a go at making cookies. Then you could maybe take them to school to share them around. I suddenly saw where she was coming from. So they'll start calling me Cookie. We could try it, eh? Oh, Mum, you are sweet, but I hesitated. Do you know how to bake cookies? Of course I do, said Mum. Well, it can't be that difficult. Remember that time we made cakes together? I remembered. They weren't proper cakes. They were just made from a cake mix packet, and even so we got them wrong, adding too many eggs because we thought it would make them taste nicer. We put them right at the top of the oven, hoping that would make them go golden. They didn't do this at all. They burned themselves black, though the insides were all sloppy and scrambled. We still iced them, and I ate them all up, insisting they were delicious. Maybe this had been a mistake. Have you got a cookie packet mix, Mum? I'm not sure they do them. We'll just have to make it all up from scratch, said Mum. We had breakfast first, spooning down our cornflakes. Then we rolled up our sleeves and got cracking on the cookies. Mum found an old bag of flour at the back of the cupboard. It had been there since I used flour and water paste when I was at nursery school. Mum cracked in an egg and stirred in some milk. Then she kneaded and I kneaded. We both got our great lumps of cookie dough and thumped them around the table until they were lovely smooth balls. Hey, they look good, I said. How shall we roll them out? We didn't have a rolling pin, so Mum improvised with a bottle of wine. We didn't have any cookie cutters either, but Mum twisted the lid off a jar of jam and started cutting out rounds in her flattened dough. I'm going to make mine into people, I said, starting to mould my dough. What, like a gingerbread man, said Mum. Sort of. I made a dough woman, carefully cutting a skirt for her, then putting little dough high heels on her pale legs. I broke off pieces of dough and rolled them along, and then with my fingers I twirled them round and round, creating long curls. I stuck them on the dough woman's head. I found a safety pin and fashioned features onto her dough face. 2 big eyes, a little nose, a cupid's bow mouth smiling at me. I smiled back as I laid her carefully on a baking tray. I started on another dough person, small and square. I made a dough dress for her and gave her a fancy hairdo. Her eyes were squinty when I scratched them into place. Her nose went blobby and her mouth turned down. I stared at her, sighing. Then I pulled all her dough ringlets right out and gave her a radical haircut, chopping it tomboy short. It didn't look so bad now. I peeled off her party dress and made her a dough dungarees. She looked much better. I rubbed at her mouth and she started smiling. Mum peered over at the finished figure on the baking tray. Oh, beauty, that's so good. Is that me? She came and stood beside me. And who's this? Is it a cute boy? No, it's you with short hair. You look so cute. I wish I did have short hair, I said. Do you think Dad would mind terribly if I had it all cut off? Mum rolled her eyes. Don't even think about it, she said. I put my dough girl beside her mum. Then I got started on a dough man. Is that Dad? Said Mum. I didn't answer. I made the body and then rolled the arms and the legs. I made pin marks on the dough shirt to show it was checked and gave the long legs comfy jeans. I spent ages carving his face with my pin to give it the right gentle expression. Of course it wasn't Dad. I started on a new smaller person, very fat, with 4 little legs. I fashioned long loppy ears and then I carefully picked her up and laid her on my man's checked chest. He wrapped his doughy arms around her, holding her close. My tray was full now. I patted my special pastry people, feeling bad as I put them into the hot oven. I hope it doesn't hurt, I whispered foolishly. I'll try hard not to let you burn. Mum put her tray of plain round cookies above mine and we shut them in the oven. Tra-la, said Mum. Welcome to the world, cookie girl. Well, hi there, cookie Mum, I said. Mum switched on the radio and we started dancing to the pop music in our pyjamas. We didn't disco dance like Sky. This was happy and dancing, leaping around the room, beating a tattoo on the tabletop, tapping out tunes with the spoons. We sank into our seats exhausted when the music stopped. I can smell the cookies, I said, my nose twitching like lilies. Do you think they're ready yet? We've only just put them in the oven, sweetheart. There'll be ages yet. Come on, let's go and get washed and dressed while we're waiting. I washed and dressed in double quick time, not quite trusting Mum's judgment. I decided to have a little peep into the oven. I just opened the door a tiny crack so as not to let the heat out. I stared. Then I opened it wide, peering at the 2 trays. Mum, I shouted. Oh, Mum, something's really awful. Something really awful has happened. Mum came rushing into the kitchen in her underwear. Have you burned yourself? Have you broken something? What is it, Beauty? Look at the cookies, I wailed. Mum's neat cookies had expanded in every direction, joining up so that her baking tray contained one long, flat, misshapen biscuit. My lovely cookie people had expanded too. They were now great grotesque caricatures. Sam was this bloated, blobby man, all head and huge stomach, and lovely Lily had blown up into a beach ball. Little Mum was a great giant. Even her careful curls were ruined. Now she looked as if she had snakes writhing right out of her head. I was the worst. So squat I was completely square, my dungarees inflated into vast overalls, my short haircut making me look like a man. Not any old man. I looked like the spitting image of my dad. I put on an oven glove and pulled the baking tray out of the oven. I picked up the me cookie even though it was red hot and snapped off its stupid head. Hey, stop it, Beauty. Don't burn yourself. And stop spoiling them. They might look a bit weird, but I bet they taste yummy, said Mum. We waited until they'd cooled down a little and then nibbled. They didn't taste good at all. They were as flat and hard and boring as cardboard. Oh dear, said Mum. She took the oven glove and pulverised her own cookie. They're horrible, aren't they? Yep. Your dad's right, I can't cook for toffee, said Mum, drooping. Yes, you can, I said. I hesitated. Well, maybe you could learn. I'm useless at learning stuff. I was always bottom of the class at school, said Mum. Thick as a brick, that's me. No, you're not. You're pretty and witty, I said. Okay. As you're cute and astute, said Mum. Maybe we need a proper recipe book, I said, scraping the cookie crumbs into the waste bin. I think we need to get all the ingredients right. Maybe this is the wrong sort of flour, and perhaps we've left out something important. What would make the cookies softer and sweeter? Butter and sugar, said Mum. OK, I'll look for a recipe book tomorrow. Number 2 on my shopping list. Number 1 will be the new Venetian glass mirror. I quivered. Sorry. Forget about it now. Shall we go and watch some telly? Don't they have Sam and Lily Omnibus Edition on a Sunday morning? Mum and I curled up at either end of the sofa. We tucked our feet up cosily. We were never allowed to do that when Dad was around because he said it marked the sofa cushions. Mum flipped through the Sunday's papers while I spun round and round into Sam and Lily world in the rabbit hutch. I'd seen all 5 programmes during the week, and so I could whisper all the right words. At the end of the repeats, there was a special 5 minutes of Sam and Lily on Sunday. Hey there, said Sam. He was holding Lily. She twitched her nose at me, but she was more interested in something down on the ground. She struggled a little in Sam's arms, not quite sure of herself. Hey, Lily, it's okay. It's only a little black cat come to say hello. Let me introduce you. Sam bent down so that Lily's face was on level with the cat's. They regarded each other warily. Lily, meet Lucky. Lucky, meet Lily. Sam looked out of the television set at me. And here's my very own special friend, Beauty. Say meow to her, Lucky. Lucky obediently gave a tiny meow, lifting and licking one small paw. Oh, Lucky, you're so sweet, I whispered. Lily stared at me reproachfully. Not quite as sweet as Lily, of course, I said. Lucky's come to live in the house next door. She's just popped in to meet her new neighbour, said Sam. Are you going to come and say hello on a daily basis, Lucky? Lucky gave a demure nod. Well, that's just fine and dandy, because that means you'll cross our path, and if a little black cat does that, then we'll have a lucky day. I wish you lived next door to me, Lucky, I whispered. I need all the luck in the world to counteract 7 whole years' bad luck. 7 years, said Sam. That's all the way until you're practically grown up. Whatever have you done to inflict such a curse upon yourself? I broke a mirror, I confessed. Oh, Beauty, is that all? Said Sam. Don't worry, you won't really get 7 years' bad luck. That's just an old wives' tale. I glanced at Mum, who was deep in a fashion article. OK, a young wives' tale, said Sam, but it's just silly superstition. I think we make our own luck, Beauty. Well, I'm not very good at it, I said, sighing. I wish I could come and live in the rabbit hutch with you and Lily and Sam. We'd love that too, said Sam. Do you think we'll ever meet? Sam looked straight into my eyes. Yes, we'll meet. Really, actually face to face? Absolutely. Face to face or ear to ear in Lily's case. Lily made a little snorty noise as if she was laughing, and then Sam reminded everyone that he'd love to see a drawing or a painting of their pet, and said goodbye. Bye-bye, Sam. Bye, Lily, I said out loud. Bye, Sam and Lily, Mum said, turning her page. The television voice said, Who have we just seen? Sam and Lily in the rabbit hutch, Mum and I said simultaneously. I stood up. I think I'll go and do some drawing, Mum, I said. I sat cross-legged on my bed upstairs with my drawing pad and coloured pencils. I propped Reginald Redhead up beside me, telling him I wanted to draw his portrait. You can be my pet, and then I can send your picture off to Sam in the rabbit hutch, I said. Reginald Redhead looked down, his snout at me. He seemed offended at the idea that he was my pet. He wouldn't pose properly, falling forwards, flipping backwards, and even tumbling head over heels over the edge of the bed onto the carpet. OK, don't cooperate then. I won't draw you. I'll draw Nicholas Navy Bear instead, I said. I divided my page into 4 squares. I drew myself looking at Nicholas on the tray at Rona's party. I was smiling from ear to ear as I saw his little furry face. Then in the second square I drew my hands gently cradling Nicholas. He lounged against my fingers, using my thumbs as a footrest. He was smiling from ear to ear too. I drew great splashes of water in the third picture, with poor Nicholas splashing wildly through the waves, mouth wide open, screaming for help. Then I drew the poor drowned Nicholas lying in an open coffin, paws crossed on his chest, with wreaths of daisies and dandelion crosses arranged all around him. It was hard getting all 4 pictures properly balanced. I had to rub out quite a lot, but at last it seemed okay. I coloured it in very carefully, not going over a single line and keeping my pencil stroke as smooth as I could. Mum came up to see how I was getting on and acted like I was an artistic genius. "You have to send it in to Sam, Beauty," she said. "No, Mum, I'm too old, and my picture's too weird," I said, closing my drawing book. "You're so artistic, Beauty," Mum hesitated. "Shall we show it to Dad when he comes in?" "No!" "He'd be ever so proud." "No, he wouldn't. He'd go off on a rant." I puffed myself up and put on a deep dad voice. "Why don't you do a proper drawing of a teddy rather than this damn daft cartoon rubbish?" Mum burst out laughing. "Oh, stop it." Yes, that's exactly what he'd say. OK, we won't show him. And that is where we will leave part 4 of Cookie by Jacqueline Wilson. I'll be back soon with the next part of this fantastic story, and lots more stories and videos coming your way very soon. If you'd like to subscribe or hit a like, that's always appreciated. Thanks for listening, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.